Beloved beings of light, welcome to our channel. This video was created especially for you who feel that there is something beyond this reality, beyond the life that society tries to impose on us. For you who feel that you have lost the meaning of life and who, at times, find yourself in an existential crisis, not knowing where to go or what to do. Today, we will discuss spiritual awakening and share the signs that indicate you are going through this transformative process. The first story we want to share is that of Eckhart Tolle, a great contemporary spiritual master who experienced a profound awakening of his consciousness at the age of 29. Until then, Tolle lived in a state of almost constant anxiety, with intense periods of depression. He himself recounts that, one night after his 29th birthday, he experienced a feeling of absolute terror. He describes the silence of the night, the vague outlines of the furniture, and the distant sound of a train as elements that became utterly meaningless to him. His aversion to the world and even to his own existence consumed him, and the desire for annihilation was stronger than the will to continue living. In the midst of this experience of intense suffering, Tolle had a revelation that changed his life forever. He realized that if he could not live with himself, it meant there were two selves, one that suffered and another that could observe that suffering. This insight caused his mind to stop, and for a brief moment, he found himself without thoughts. He was drawn into what he described as a vortex of energy, an experience of emptiness. It was in this emptiness that he found peace and pure consciousness, which led him to free himself from suffering. After this awakening, Eckhart Tolle began to live in a state of profound peace and bliss. He felt that nothing in the world could add more to what he had already attained, and his eyes began to see life in a new way, as if it were his first time experiencing the world. He realized that his true nature was pure consciousness, beyond the forms and identifications of the ego. What he did not understand at that moment, but gradually came to comprehend over the years, was that the intense pressure of suffering had forced his consciousness to abandon identification with the unhappy self he had been before. This account from Tolle teaches us that spiritual awakening can arise suddenly through a transformative experience that dissolves the identity of the ego. Intense suffering can be a catalyst for the opening of consciousness, revealing the true essence of being. In the next segment, we will explore the journey of another great spiritual master, Mooji, who also underwent a profound transformation. Now, we continue with the story of Mooji, a widely respected spiritual master whose awakening journey is also inspiring and transformative. Mooji, born Anthony Paul Moo on January 29, 1954, in the vibrant city of Port Antonio, Jamaica, led a life that seemed like many others until a crucial moment in his journey. He distinguished himself through his passion for the arts, being a painter, stained glass creator, and eventually a teacher at Brixton College in London. However, his life took a completely unexpected turn after a pivotal encounter with spirituality. Mooji lived an ordinary life, focused on the material world, until a meeting with a Christian devotee in 1987 completely transformed his perception of life. This devotee, named Michael, radiated a deep faith and wisdom that quickly captured Mooji's attention. The conversations they had about the life of Jesus and the challenges of faith in the modern world led Mooji to deeply question the truth about life and existential purpose. These conversations laid the foundation for his more intense spiritual quest. After this encounter, Mooji asked Michael to pray for him, and it was at that moment that something profoundly transformative happened. Mooji surrendered to the prayer with sincerity, asking the divine presence to fill him and guide him to the truth. As a result of this prayer, Mooji was overwhelmed by an immeasurable sense of peace, an unparalleled lightness and joy. However, he also felt the fear that this peace might disappear with sleep. When he woke up the next day, this peace was still present, unshakable. This was the first clear sign that something profound was happening to him. This moment of awakening to the reality of God as a living and active presence transformed him deeply. Mooji felt guided by a higher force, an invisible force shaping his steps. He experienced a profound inner change in which his identity and everything he had lived before became insignificant. This transformation led him to leave his job as a teacher and adopt a simple life, dedicating himself completely to the divine will. In the following years, Mooji lived in a state of spontaneous meditation, detached from the external world and focused on his connection with inner peace. He lived with very little, but joy and constant meditation filled his life. Mooji refers to this period as the wild years, when he experienced complete surrender to the spiritual life. During this time, his sister Juliane welcomed him into her home, providing him with a peaceful space and the time needed to flourish spiritually. Then, in 1993, Mooji felt a strong calling to travel to India in search of more inspiration for his spiritual journey. Initially, his destination was Dakshineswar in Kolkata, where Sri Ramakrishna had lived and taught. However, destiny led him elsewhere, to the foothills of the Himalayas, where he encountered 3 devotees of Papaji, an enlightened master of Advaita Vedanta. The presence of these devotees in his life and their invitation to meet Papaji became a significant milestone in his spiritual journey. Mooji finally met Papaji in Lucknow, India, and this encounter with the enlightened master was a profound moment in his life. Papaji, with his wisdom and clear presence of mind, taught Mooji that to attain the truth, one must completely disappear as an individual, stripping away all personal identity. This teaching deeply shook Mooji and pushed him into an even more intense experience of surrender to emptiness and pure consciousness. This experience with Papaji transformed Mooji irrevocably, and from that moment on, he dedicated himself to sharing his wisdom with others, helping seekers of truth reach a state of deep peace and consciousness. Through his presence, Mooji inspires those around him to connect with inner peace and live the truth, free from the distractions of the ego and mind. Mooji shows us that, like Eckhart Tolle, spiritual awakening can be triggered by moments of profound transformation, where our previous identity dissolves and the true essence of who we are is revealed. Like Tolle, Mooji teaches us that surrender to the divine will, meditation, and inner peace are the paths to true enlightenment. Now, let us move on to the story of a spiritual master who follows an equally illuminating journey, Ramana Maharshi. Now, we arrive at the story of Ramana Maharshi, one of the most revered masters in India and in spirituality as a whole. His journey to enlightenment is marked by a spontaneous awakening experience that occurred when he was still a young boy, without any prior interest in spirituality or religious practices. Ramana Maharshi, born Venkataraman Iyer on December 30, 1879 in Madurai, India, led an ordinary life until, at the age of 16, he underwent a profound and transformative experience. It all happened in July 1896, when Ramana, faced with the fear of death, began to question the nature of life and death in a unique way. He recounts that he was suddenly seized by the sensation that he was about to die, and instead of seeking external explanations, he decided to investigate what that truly meant. He lay down on the ground, mimicking a corpse as a way of directly confronting death. With his limbs stretched out and his breath held, Ramana focused his attention on the question of what actually dies. He realized that the body perishes, but the I, consciousness, remains, transcending the physical body. During this moment of deep reflection, Ramana had a direct and non-intellectual experience that he was not the body, but rather the immortal spirit, the eternal essence that does not die with the flesh. He described this as a direct and clear revelation of his true nature, without the need for logic or reasoning. This experience with death and the realization of his immortal spiritual nature completely changed Ramana's life. From that moment on, he felt that his true identity was not the body or the mind, but the unchanging I that transcends the ego and the identifications of daily life. His absorption in this I became his constant focus, and his mind became tranquil and unshakable. Unlike other masters who spend years engaging in rigorous spiritual practices to attain enlightenment, Ramana's awakening happened spontaneously. His experience was not the result of intensive practices, but rather a direct and intuitive understanding of who he truly was. From then on, he began teaching the path of self-inquiry, encouraging his followers to ask themselves, "Who am I?" A simple yet profound practice that reveals the true nature of being. Ramana Maharshi never concerned himself with spiritual powers or supernatural phenomena, things that often distract spiritual seekers. Instead, he taught that the true search was for self-knowledge and the realization of inner truth, which cannot be described in words but is directly known through the experience of pure consciousness. He emphasized that the only way to attain spiritual liberation was through understanding oneself, by dissolving the ego and the thinking mind. For Ramana, self-knowledge was the only true path, and he taught that everyone has the ability to achieve this realization without depending on gurus or extraordinary powers. The practice of turning inward, questioning the I, was enough for those who sought to know the absolute truth. Ramana Maharshi is an example of how enlightenment can occur in a simple and direct way, without the need for complications or external searches. His teaching brought a new and accessible approach to the spiritual path, one that remains relevant to this day. He opened to humanity the eternal path of supreme truth, which is at once simple, direct, and natural. At the end of this video, beloved beings of light, we want to emphasize that there is no single formula or predetermined path to spiritual awakening. Each of us follows our own unique and unrepeatable journey. The enlightened masters we have shared here have their own stories, their difficulties, and their moments of transformation. But what they all teach us is that enlightenment is possible for any human being, at any moment and in various ways. If you are going through an awakening process, it is important to know that you are not alone. Although the materialistic world often does not provide an understanding of this, spiritual awakening is within reach of all who seek inner truth. We hope that you, like the masters we have shared, can connect with your true essence, and that this video has helped you understand more about what is happening within you. Do not hesitate to engage in the comments and share your experiences. We want to hear from you, to know how your journey is unfolding, and together, we can form a chain of light and mutual learning. We thank you for watching this video and look forward to seeing you in our next meeting. May the divine light within you continue to shine brightly, guiding your path.